I'm Dusty Wathan, and this is My Moment. I grew up in Blue Springs, Missouri, a suburb of Kansas City. Started playing t-ball at 4 years old like every other little guy, and kind of progressed through Little League. Had the opportunity as a young player to be able to hang around a lot of major league players, and my dad was a player for the Kansas City Royals at the time in the 70s and 80s. And it was a big influence on my career, on my life. It's what I grew up knowing. I watched my dad go to the ballpark every day, and I think that's kind of the reason that I got into baseball and the reason that I followed the career path that I have. Off to college, I went Orange Coast Junior College, and after my freshman year, Coach Maine retired, and I transferred to Cerritos Junior College, also in California, with aspirations of furthering my college career and hopefully getting an opportunity to sign a professional contract. And once that season was over, I had a very good year. I was still catching at the time, and an odd thing happened to me. A Houston Astros scout came to me and said, "We'd like you to try to pitch. We want you to throw a bullpen, see how it works out." And I threw a bullpen. Everything went well. My velocity was more than they anticipated. So I thought, here's my chance. I'm going to get drafted, whether it be a catcher or a pitcher, I didn't know. But I was pretty sure I was going to get drafted. So didn't really have a lot of plans going forward as far as what college I was going to go to after my year at Cerritos. And the plan backfired a little bit. I ended up not getting drafted. I went out to see my father after the draft. Obviously very disappointed. Here's a goal that you have your whole life, and you end up falling short. And I was kind of looking for a place to figure things out. And luckily, I went out to Boston. My father was coaching for the Boston Red Sox at the time, and the Cape Cod League was right down the road, and they have an open tryout every summer to fill some spots on some teams. So I went down to the open tryout. Luckily, ended up making a team. They needed a catcher, and played for the Brewster Whitecaps that summer. About 3 weeks into the season, the Seattle Mariners come to me and say, we need a catcher in rookie ball. Would you be interested in signing? And this was a scout that I'd known from California. He was actually a California scout. He'd actually called me on the phone, talked to my father, talked to myself, and we kind of went back and forth a little bit. And he knew I wanted to sign, and I knew I wanted to sign. And we got a little bit of schooling put in there for me, and a little bit of cash, just enough to have a couple beers one night. So once we agreed upon terms of my contract, I actually flew out to California to sign my contract, and kind of bringing things full circle, I ended up signing the contract on Mike Maine, my coach in college my freshman year, on his kitchen table. So that was kind of a neat opportunity for myself. Mike gave me the opportunity to go to college, to start my college career, and it was a very exciting time. I didn't have my father around out there at the time, so Mike was kind of like a second father to me, and taught me a lot about catching, taught me a lot about living on my own, being so far away from home at the time. So being able to sign my contract on his table in his kitchen made it even more special. And after I signed the contract, it was off to Peoria, Arizona. Kind of as I look back over my first 7 years with Seattle and then the 1 year with Florida, you really think about the things that really kept you going. I mean, there was times when we were living 5 or 6 guys in an apartment. I've lived on porches. I've lived out of a car pretty much. So it's a grind to play in the minor league. So anytime you have the opportunity to keep playing professional baseball, I think it takes a special guy to keep that grind going. There's a lot of guys that I played with that got to a point and said, you know what, enough is enough. And luckily for me, I had, towards the late 90s, I had my wife pushing me, and it was just something I always wanted to do, and I didn't know any better, I guess. And you look back at having no money, and you get $4 a day meal money, and I remember my rookie ball year, we got $116 for every 2 weeks after we had to pay for half of our hotel room, and we used to go down to the front desk and get 2-for-1 Big Mac coupons so we could eat. It's not easy, that's for sure, but you know, the experience and the life that I've had so far, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's the things that make you as a person, the struggles you go through. I think every time you struggle, it only makes you stronger. I go with Heidi and Elle. We go up to Canada to see her parents. That's where she's from. And, you know, I'm just going to go into the off season not thinking, well, I'm gonna have to try to get a job next year somewhere and see what happens. So a couple days go by and we're up in Canada and end up going golfing with a friend up there. And I remember we're on the first hole and I tee off and I smoke one right down the middle, and that never happens. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself, and I walk up to the ball and hit the next one about 4 feet. Take a huge divot. Next thing you know, I put another ball down, I hit it, and it's a really good shot right on the green. And I'm thinking, okay, we just won't count that one. Well, next thing you know, here comes a guy flying down the fairway in a golf cart, and I think, oh no, I did something wrong. You guys saw me hit 2 balls. It's a really nice golf course. I don't know what I did wrong, but this guy shouldn't be flying down the golf course after me. So he comes up to me and he says, "Are you Dusty Wathan?" And at this point, I'm thinking maybe I should say no. And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you need to go back to the pro shop and call home. I keep calling the house and it's busy, and it's busy." And my mother and father didn't have call waiting. So it's busy, it's busy, it's busy. So I think finally I said, well, let's just go home. And it's about a half-hour drive. And by the time I get back, my wife says, well, you need to call the Royals. And I'm thinking, why do I need to call the Royals? And so I call and talk to Muzzy Jackson, and he says, we need you to get to Detroit right away. And here I am in about 3 hours away in Canada. And I'm thinking, why do I need to go to Detroit? And he says, well, Brent Main and AJ Hinch, who are our catchers, their wives are both pregnant and they're due within days. And we're going to need a catcher when this happens. So it really started to sink in. I was kind of going to the big leagues, I guess, at that time. They told me, you're not going to be activated, you're going to travel with the team, but you know, there's a good chance it's going to happen, you're going to get activated. So once I arrive in Detroit, I'm not active on the roster right now. So I'm hanging out, I'm catching bullpens. I haven't played in a couple weeks, so I figure maybe I'm getting an opportunity to play here. We go from Detroit, we go to Chicago, and same thing happens. I'm just hanging out, I'm waiting for somebody to have a baby. And next thing you know, nobody has one in Chicago. Off we go to Kansas City. So now I'm in my hometown. Now this is the stadium I grew up in since I was a little kid. I know every nook and cranny of this stadium. Never been nervous in my life for the stadium. I've done everything you could possibly think of. Played little father-kids games. I played cup ball in the bottom of the stadium. I've taken batting practice there since I was a kid. Everything you could think of. But finally, Tony Pena comes and says, we're going to activate you. So I get activated and sit a couple days in the bullpen. And the Royals that year weren't very good. I think at the time we set the record for most losses. So I'm thinking, I'm going to get a shot here. So day 1 goes by, no game. Day 2 goes by, no game. I think it was the 3rd day that I was active, September 24th, 2002. They call down in the bullpen catching. And they call down and say, send Dusty down, he's going in the game to catch. So at that moment, your body, you lose every feeling in your body. You're at cloud 9. I mean, it's the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever been through in my life. Here's the thing that you've been waiting for your whole life, and all of a sudden, you can't even feel your body. But then once that ball goes down to second base, and we get into the actual game, I catch the first pitch, and I remember throwing it back and saying, okay, now it's baseball. So after that, I was comfortable. But I think it's the anticipation of not wanting to screw up. You've been there, you've practiced this so long, this is your life goal. We had a 1-2-3 inning, easy inning. It was a guy named Ryan Buckvich that I'd caught in AAA for the year, so we were real comfortable with it. And then I come up the next inning, I think it was 1st and 2nd, I think there was 1 out, and I'm facing a guy named Jeff Farnsworth, who actually we played together with Seattle prior to that, a number of years prior. Here it is, September 24th. There's not many days left. So I don't know how many opportunities I'm going to get to get an at-bat. And we're in the bottom of the 8th inning, and my parents are there, my brother's there. This is the stadium I grew up in. This is what I sat behind home plate from when I was probably 4, 5, 6 years old, thinking I was going to do this every day. But here was my one chance to get it done. And luckily enough, I got a pitch out over the plate, hit a ball down the right field line, and bounced off the warning track, rattled around in the corner, got my first hit. It was a double, RBI, got that out. I was checking off columns as it went. And the thing that I can remember being at second base is there's an iconic picture of George Brett, and I think it's 1980, going over 400 in late August. And he stood at second base and took his helmet off and raised his hands. And I stood at second base, and that memory, because I was at that game, came into my mind. I said, man, I should do that. But then I said, wait a minute, I only have one hit. But it was an amazing experience. And to stand out there with your hit, knowing, okay, now my name's in the, they can't take this away. My name's in the baseball encyclopedia. I've played in the big leagues. No matter what happens, I've accomplished something that I wanted to accomplish from 3-4 years old to now. And whatever happens in my rest of my baseball career, they can't take this away. And I got to play a couple more games. Started the last game of the season. Got a couple more hits. I think I ended up being 3 for 5 in my career. Probably one of the few guys that would like to lower his career batting average. But you know, it's a special moment. Season ended. The only thing that I could have changed about the whole situation was my wife Heidi was 8 months pregnant with our second child, and she couldn't be there. She had to go back to Arizona. Didn't know how long she could fly, so they sat by the computer and listened to it online, which was kind of a neat thing. But she never got to see me play in the big leagues live, or really on TV. She saw a couple highlights, but that's the one thing, because I think she's been such a big part of my career that it would have been very special for her to be there. But hopefully one day in a different light, she'll be able to stand there with me. So I think you learn a lot in the game of baseball, whether being a player or as a coach. Really, as a player, I mean, the advice that I would give to young players or young athletes in general is, it's a game. It's supposed to be fun. That's why they call it a game. I think that's probably the only reason that I kept playing for so long, was I looked at it as a game. Yeah, you get paid for it a little bit in the minor leagues, but I think you have to look at it as a game. And I think, you know, as young athletes, we look at it as a game. You can have fun at it. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's all about, is having fun at it. There's a time and a place to get a job, and eventually we all have to get jobs sooner or later. So to look at it as a game and to have a fallback plan, the one thing I probably really regret is not getting my college degree. I think it's really important. I think it would open up a lot more opportunities for myself. It's something that I really stress on my kids. And baseball is a great game, and it has given me a lot of things. But I think to always shoot for the stars, but you always have to have something to fall back on. I'm Dusty Wathan, and that was my moment.